Hey there, Facebook peeps. April Parcher here, and it's such a pretty day outside today. I thought I would do a little video on gathering nest material for your birdies, which are out there looking for stuff. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you what I have set up for my nesting birds and a couple little tips, and we'll go from there. Hang on a second, let me figure out how to turn the camera around. There we go. First I'll walk over here and show you my nesting material station. I decided to put this up in a suet feeder, and I hung it up with the baffle over top so that the rain would stay out of it. And the kind of things I put in there are pretty natural. Some twigs, some moss, that stuff is left over from last year, and the cotton. And I got some more moss, which I'm going to stuff in as I get it. So we'll stuff in the mossies here into the little thing. And there's lots of material from your winter garden that you can put in. I put a little cotton in here, but you can also put animal fur and hair, because they like to use that to soften their nests. But don't use string or thread or anything like that, because baby birds can get caught up in it and it could hurt them. So I'm going to run around and show you a few things. The moss is one, but here's another one. I left my phlox up this winter, and I didn't take them down because I wanted to harvest these little tiny ends of the phlox. These little bushy little ends here, little sticky ends, and the little twigs on the top. So I'm going to break those off. Here comes my kitty to keep me company. I'll break a few of these guys off, and I will kind of stuff them into the feeder, into the suet holder for my nest material. But any kind of soft little twigs that they can easily pick out of there and stick in their nests is a good idea. So I'll put some of those into the box. Oh, I have some other, this might be good too, some thyme left over from last year. So we have these little bits I can pull up. I'll pull this up and break it off. So I have a little bunch of light twiggy nesty material. So we'll take that over and stuff it in. I want to put a lot of interesting things in this, wild things in my little box, sticking out of it whenever possible. A little bit on the edges to give them easy purchase so they can pop up here, especially the little birds that hang on to the side of the feeder with their claws, and then they can pick things out of the nest material. I pulled some of the cotton out of there so it shows. These little twigs are nice too from grasses because they're fragile, but they're bendable and they can, do what they want with them. So those are a couple of tips. What else have I got in here that looks good? Oh, I have a hydrangea blossom. So let's twist some of that off, maybe. Stick it in there, pull some off of here. A little bit of hydrangea blossoms to stick around into the nest material. And you can use anything for one of these, but I prefer a hard surface like this and not the mesh cloths, because the birds can get caught in the mesh also. Like the kind of thing that you would put, onion bags and things like that. I try to avoid anything plastic or with a small mesh in it, so they don't really they can get caught up in them and die. So it's really, you want to make sure you put your stuff in something that's easily accessible to them, but they can't get caught in it. So we'll wander around to see if I see anything else in the yard that looks interesting. Moss is always good. If you have some that has been blown up or dried or a little bit, and you can always, if you don't want moss in your yard, you can always take up pieces of it. Here the squirrels have been going after this. So sometimes I'll just pick off some of this bitty stuff with the dirt still attached a little bit, some of the strings of grass and that type of thing. But moss is always a good place to look to find nesting material. But yeah, this is a fun practice on a spring day. The daffodils are up. My daffodils are coming way up, and here it is, only February the 8th. And I've got little buds on them. And all my plants are starting to come up early, so I'm going to stick this little bit of moss in the box, and I'll be done with my chore for today. We'll see if we can't thumb this into one of the empty holes and let it dry here, and we'll see what happens. Also, I go in and look at my nest boxes to see how they're doing. I have a bluebird box here that last year had bumblebees nesting in it, and you can still see some of the material that was, the dusty material that was in there. So I cleaned out the bumblebees. I didn't know it was a bumblebee nest. It was just a huge block of moss. And I had no idea what that was, and it's extended all the way up to the top of the hole here. So I picked it up out of the nest, and it vibrated in my hand. It buzzed. So I dropped it, and a couple of bumblebees flew out. So what I did with that was, there's a little wild area down here, and I left the bumblebee nest there to quiet down. I didn't destroy it, and I put a piece of wood over top of it to protect it from the rain, so the bumblebees could do their thing and finish nesting and do what they were going to do. But you want to clean out your nest boxes in the fall, actually, and make sure they're all cleaned out and they don't have anything left in them. Another thing I did with another nest box over here, this one gets chickadees sometimes, or titmice. Haven't had a bluebird in here yet, but they've been looking. I saw them last week out here scouting around. And in this one, it's an older box, but I put a lid on it with it that's hinged. I guess you can see it there. So I can always get up in there and look down in the nest to see if there's anything in there to clean out. Again, in the fall, it's better to clean those out and use some kind of a a vinegar solution or something to get rid of any bacteria and stuff that's in there, so they have a clean place to live. So I will turn this back around, and I will wish everybody a happy spring Saturday. I hope you enjoy this gorgeous day wherever you are. And I'll show you my kitties just before we leave. There's Clarabelle. And there is Barkley. And they don't get along. Clarabelle is lording it over Barkley. She says, "Oh, I'm out here and you're in there." Hope your kitties are having a good day. And we will catch you guys on the flip. Happy spring.